Welcome, everyone, to episode 86 of the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and this is a pretty unique guest because I had never heard of this guy before, and I think his manager had reached out to me. I guess they must have heard like one of the episodes I've done. Like just recently, I've been doing this podcast for a long time, but just recently I was able to host it and get it out to Apple and Spotify and some of the big platforms. I still post it here on YouTube, so however you're listening, I appreciate you tuning in. But this guy's manager sent an email to me and sent me a few links to the videos, and I thought it was really interesting. Apparently, this guy's based in New York. He's a violinist and like a breakdancer, and it does a lot of other, I guess, does some original music. We can get into that in a little bit. I thought that was pretty cool because my mom plays violin. She taught it for years. So I thought it was really interesting. Like, oh, okay, this guy's pretty serious about what he's doing. Clearly, he's got a unique talent set, so I figured why not talk to him. So please welcome to the Phoenix Report, Asher Laub.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for coming. So you're based in New York.
Yeah.
Are you from New York originally?
I'm from upstate New York, which a lot of like metropolitan New Yorkers kind of laugh when I say that because that's not really New York,
No, my sister lives in Rochester, so that's fine.
Okay. Very much, we're like family because it's literally like in the boonies up there near closer to Toronto. And by the way, the cost of living is actually affordable up there. So as much as people laugh about it, it's like, when you're searching for a house in the tri-state area, it's like, this is all I can get for literally 4 times the price of my house in Buffalo or Rochester.
Yeah, I hear you. Very cool. So you're a violinist and a breakdancer, and that reminded me a little bit of the only comparison I could think of is this girl Lindsay Sterling, who kind of does the same thing. She plays violin and does more like ballet. But,
it makes it a little tougher when you're a guy. I'm not that feminine I'm not like a feminine type of guy.
You're not quite as graceful as Lindsay Sterling, is what you're telling me.
No. She's got the sexy lady thing going on. I've got more like the Michael Jackson thing in terms of movements, and it's not. My focus is more on like production and being a music producer and a violinist and like a live performer. And that's like with the larger scale concerts I'm doing, the dancing, because everybody's got ADHD these days. I don't mean that necessarily, like just people have they're looking at their TikToks. So you got to kind of engage people. Otherwise they fall asleep on you. So I kind of brought that into the mix, because I find it to be a lot more effective in terms of just it resonates with people. They enjoy watching and it's fun,
It's pretty cool. So, I mean, how did all this get started? Like, what came first? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
So, long story short, which I'm not really good at, but I'm going to try. I started at the age of 2 on a little margin box violin, progressed throughout the years in the Suzuki method, little tiny classical wood Chinese violin, and then it kind of progressed from there as I grew older. I would say by maybe 9th, 10th grade, I started playing a full-size violin, and that was all classical upbringing, classical training. Wanted to kind of push the boundaries genre-wise into improvisation, something my teachers didn't have a clue about because they're all sort of like, they knew how to teach me etudes, but they didn't know about jazz and even playing pop music, which seems like a really simple kind of thing if you're, a guitarist or drummer. But for violinists, it's not so intuitive. So I moved into that later in high school, and I very quickly became a professional. I'm going to say within a year, I became a professional violinist in the tri-state as I moved there for college, and kind of the rest is history.
Did you go to school for music?
So I went to school for everything but music, privately trained throughout my entire life, played in orchestras and did NISMA competitions up until about age 20, and I just started getting hired to play.
Yeah, I used to play cello as a kid, so yeah, that's cool.
I just did a jam, like piano guy style jam with a really talented cellist yesterday, and it kind of made me thinking about like, I got to start kind of branching out from what I'm doing, because that's like a growing, the piano guys. I'm assuming you're a cellist, so. I don't know, kind of like a blend between pop and classical. It was a lot of fun playing with them. So.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm actually not familiar with the piano guys.
So it's basically a cello, featuring mostly a cellist and a pianist. So the combination yesterday was piano, cello, saxophonist, and myself, and it just fits so well.
Are these guys based in New York as well?
Yeah, they're based in New York. Okay. So, and they're all like, we literally just sat down, we just started pumping out music that we already know. And when you're working with guys who have a large repertoire, you don't need to practice really unless you're being recorded. But it was a pretty awesome experience.
Very cool. So I mean, so you're branching out. You're trying to develop your own act. Are you composing music of your own and trying to find? And you said you're a producer as well. So yeah. I mean, I guess you play other instruments as well to try and like build it around the violin.
Yeah, my main trademark is the violin, but I am a producer in the sense that, well, I make my music from scratch, but sometimes I'm working with other producers, and the feature is just the violin. So I work with some guys, like with Dreaming Awake, my single. You can check it out on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, whatever. This producer in Germany, we worked on Dreaming Awake together, and that song, the way he mixes and masters and just his overall production style is something that I really aspire to be able to do myself. I mean, if you look at the work that I've done independent of that, A Brighter Day Ahead, Atlantis, these songs produced by myself, I'm really proud of them. But I love collaborating with other artists and other folks who bring their own sort of talent to the table. But yeah, so to answer your question, I produce, but I also work with producers. And the common denominator is the violin.
Nice. It's funny. It's like, if you have something unique like that, like playing violin, you can definitely find ways like to have like have a unique, market for yourself. Like I remember a couple of years ago, there was this guy named David Garrett, who's a German violinist, and young guy, good looking dude, got long hair. He looks kind of like Thor. But like
exactly. I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so David Garrett, but like he created
of course.
He made a few albums called like rock symphonies where he'd do like violin version of like of rock tunes over the years. So it's and obviously that's not exactly what you do, but like obviously there are ways you can find that and make a unique name for yourself, doing other things and finding creative ways to put the violin into sort of a modern context.
Yeah, the whole crossover violinist. I don't think there's enough folks out there like David Garrett, Lindsey Sterling. There's a lot of kind of smaller crossover performers. I kind of wish there were more, mega artists just, that the major labels were pushing.
Yeah, they would open the doors a little bit for guys like yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty privileged to already get in the door with a number of major label artists. In terms of like, Madison Square Garden, Carnegie Hall. Like I played all the major venues, been featured on PBS.
Wow. I
would like to do more of that because sort of my bread and butter are live performances and then like royalty streams, that type of stuff. Okay. Love to hear about, your end since you mentioned you're a cellist, but.
I mean, I was when I was a kid. I haven't played since I was like eight years old, but like, I mean, I sing in rock bands, I play bass and stuff like that. So. But I mean, I haven't played a cello since I was a little kid,
cool.
So I wouldn't call myself a cellist.
But you are a musician since you have that background. But I do plenty of, so I do session work for myself and for a number of like decent sized artists that want me to be a part of the production. I'm doing some collaborations that I'm very excited about.
Gotcha. Can you drop any names yet, or as
I can't because they're not published yet.
Okay, fair enough.
But they could literally be published next week. It's amazing how such a simple like recording or a collaboration, like literally both songs are completely written. We're just working out some logistics, and I'm booked every night, gigging. So I just keep running out of time, which is frustrating.
That's a great problem to have, though. So. What kind of gigs are you usually booked at? Is it like gigs on your own, or is it with other artists, or just everything?
Yeah, so a variety of gigs. Honestly, I don't even know if It kind of changes with the season. So I'm gonna say in previous years I was doing like 90% gigs on like just with myself, and then I would kind of bring in other elements. Now I've sort of tried to simplify my life by just allowing people to book me within reason, and then I also do a lot of my own stuff, so like 50-50. So and we're talking a variety of like concerts, weddings, private events, corporate events. Companies sponsor my videos and stuff like that. So my income streams are coming from many different places, but the primary focus and interest for me is as an artist, as an independent artist, producing, singles and finishing up my album, 2 songs short of that. But I also have an entertainment group that is doing productions. That's probably where the variety of other booking agents come in. And that's probably one of the reasons why I'm doing that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Very cool, man. Is there like a particular like dream gig that you would love to land? Something that like, if you had it your way, like I would love to play with this artist, or I would love to play this venue, or something like that. Is there anything like that kind of, something you'd want to do someday?
Yeah, I mean, there's always like, there's like a million permutations. There's a million like opportunities out there that I'd love to have. But I have sort of landed a bunch of my dream gigs already, which, like I mentioned, some of the biggest venues.
Yeah, like you played the Garden. That's huge.
Yeah.
Who were you playing there with? Like, what was the deal there?
So I was one of the, believe it or not, headliners. But it was a number of other artists there also that pretty much helped, sell stuff out. Like Matisiahu was one of the main guys. Like that was like 2 days before he was going on the Tonight Show. So I'm sure he
was this like a festival event? You said there were several artists there.
Yeah, I mean it was like an Israeli type of I'm going to say theme a number of years ago. Carnegie Hall was myself, Susan Aquila, like a bunch of other artists from the Midwest, like jazz type stuff. I mean, PBS was trying to remember. It was actually 2 of them, but Jessica Lynn I've mentioned a few times. She's a pretty big country artist, and she's doing a cross country tour right now. Yeah, I mean, I've been invited to play with Kygo. That was actually during a pretty important family event I wasn't able to do. So I'd like to have that opportunity again. Kygo, if you're out there, give me a ring. And what's his name? Griffin. I don't know if you ever heard of Griffin. He's like
I don't think so.
He's collaborated with Kygo. He's a big electronic artist.
Oh, like EDM, that kind of thing?
Yeah, he's an EDM guy. So you can see the videos of me and him playing concert in Manhattan on my YouTube channel. So yeah, there's been a lot of really like kind of dream-like gigs. Just festivals I've been able to play. But I would like to do more of those.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool, man. So your latest single is called Atlantis, your latest single release. Tell me about that a little bit. Was that like part of a theme that you were trying to put together, Atlantis,
Yeah, before I actually mentioned Atlantis, you mentioned dream gigs. I can't believe I keep forgetting this.
That's fine. Go ahead.
I played for the King of Morocco on Sunday.
Wow.
It's pretty random, actually.
Played for actual royalty.
Yeah, I'm going to say that was bucket list for sure, and I did not anticipate that happening. He invited me over. This was on Wall Street. He's a big Wall Street investor, so it shouldn't actually be surprising that he was there. The FBI was right outside, and I was like loading my equipment, and they're like, "You can't park here." I'm like, "Who are you?" FBI. Oh, okay. I thought it was for my client. It was for the King of Morocco. Right. So he was there, and like he invites me over to play. And then he like gives me this, $100 tip, which was just like really nice. He didn't invite me in advance to play. He was just there, and so that was a real cool, like kind of dream-like experience.
Yeah. It's not every day you get to play for a head of state, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I'm kind of like hoping that something will evolve from that, because I gave 4 cards away to his entourage. They're like, "Oh, we have your card." Yeah. Sure, please do. Please invite me to the castle.
There you go. Get like a Moroccan tour going on.
Yeah. But on to your question of Atlantis. I'm just squeezing everything into 30 minutes here.
Yeah, no, we're fine.
It's a single I'm really proud of. It's a blend between, and I guess as a former cellist, you might appreciate this more than other folks. It's fully instrumental. It's melodically attractive, which is not always easy to achieve with a classical tune that has many elements of sophistication. And it sort of starts with this ominous intro, builds its way climactically up to this kind of like hopeful, happy climax. And the purpose of the song is really to, if you kind of check out the music video, check out the description, it's kind of representative of the last, I'm going to say 20 years of my life. Just struggling health-wise with some pretty serious health conditions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, ranging from inflammatory disorder to adrenal insufficiency, and overcoming that. And the general message behind my personal take on that song, which I don't expect people to well, there's no lyrics, so I'd like people to really interpret the song in their own way, find it meaningful in their, for their own lives. But the general gist and the general idea is that, life has its ups and downs. When things are really low and possibly depressing, which has really been, I think, the theme for most people during COVID, at bare minimum.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Something everybody can relate to. There's still opportunities to kind of get out of that trap, out of that state of mind, and should hopefully give people hope for the future, that there will also be climaxes in life. And even when you're at this state of these heights of happiness and everything seems to be going well, don't get overly excited by that state, because things are cyclical in life, and there will always, you might lose a loved one at some point. I just think the highs and lows, you want to ride them and enjoy them, but not get too caught up in them. And that's sort of been my personal message to myself, and I want to just sort of share that with the listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because that's the thing, because, when I play in bands, I write lyrics, being a singer. So it's like, to be able to express that instrumentally, I think is a really unique, unique way to approach it. So it's, but that's the beauty of being a musician, is that you can express yourself in so many different ways, and that's a great thing, especially if people pick up on it. I know, obviously, people, like you said, people can interpret art in various ways, and that's the beauty of it. But it's kind of cool to at least let people know, hey, this is what I was thinking when I came up with that. So, yeah, I'm sure your fans will definitely appreciate hearing about that. I also heard Atlantis, and I'm thinking, I'm a big comic book fan, so I'm thinking, man, I hope someone at Warner Brothers is listening. Maybe you could pick his music up for the next Aquaman movie.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. That's something that I'm working on, getting my music on, video games, stuff like that. It's hard to, very time consuming to pitch, but that's what I'd like to do.
You ever thought about doing film scoring or something like that?
Yeah, the only thing is I don't want to get too distracted from, the touring aspirations and the
right.
music for my fans' aspirations. I don't want to be completely bought out by companies that just want me to write for them, unless it's relevant to what I'm kind of doing. But I completely get the appeal.
Sure. That's cool,
but it's something that I'd like to collaborate with other artists on, film scores.
Nice. Well, cool, man. Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of interesting stuff going on. I appreciate you and your management tracking me down. That's awesome. I definitely wasn't expecting that. I'm just a guy who does a podcast here in Orlando, so I appreciate having a guy who's in New York like yourself, who's making moves like that. That's awesome, and definitely continued success to you, man. Nice to meet you.
Oh yeah, well, thanks so much for having me on, and done a bunch of events out in Orlando. Maybe I'll bump into you at some point.
Yeah. Look me up if you get down here. Where can people find you and all your stuff online?
Sure, AsherLaub.com, and that's probably the easiest way to find all my links. You could just Google Asher Laub, and there's a gazillion posts and videos and interviews, and find me on Spotify. I think I'm the only Asher Laub out there. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, pretty much everywhere. YouTube.
Awesome.
Just Google the name. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thanks once again to the multi-talented Asher Laub for coming on the show. It was pretty wild. Like I said in the intro, he and his management just reached out to me out of the blue. I never knew the guy, never heard of him before, but I'm glad he did. And yeah, it was cool getting to know him. And check out his stuff. AsherLaub.com is his website. You can find all his content, all his links there. And yeah, he's doing some cool stuff. So by all means, check him out. As far as upcoming events, I do have two shows in the next couple months with New Divide, my Linkin Park tribute band. The first will be Saturday, October 8th in Tampa at Red Star Live. New Divide will be playing along with my 90s cover band, the tribute band, the Butterfly Wings. So we'll be opening, and then we'll do a set with New Divide, and that'll be a lot of fun. So make sure you check that out. Saturday, October 8th, and then a month later, Saturday, November 5th. New Divide will be playing at Gildog in Port Richey. Make sure you come check that out if you're in the area. So that is it for this episode. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JackXConnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. Feel free to check out all my bands. Vertebreaker is on Facebook at facebook.com/VertebreakerBand. New Divide, a tribute to Linkin Park. That is at facebook.com/NewDivideBand. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com. You could tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. Wherever you're listening to this, make sure you hit like or subscribe, leave a comment or a review. Go back and listen to some of the other episodes. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. This has been the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. I'll see you later.